Donovan, how should the NFL respond?
Well, they should definitely suspend him for about 2 to 3 games. I look at it in the sense, I mean, for what you already started, when you look at Tre'Davious and the hit that he had on the wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, and they suspended him for 2 games. This right here was so intentional, it was ridiculous. I mean, it's not a representation of what the NFL is all about. For all the former players that have played the game, when it comes to physicality, it's usually in between the lines and during the play. Here, you can tell, I mean, it was a wrestling move. He chopped up his legs and he loaded up to hit the man in the back of the head. I would love to see some of the Buffalo Bills teammates jump on him and make sure that that's not acceptable instead of standing there pointing the finger at him. But, I mean, that's just something that doesn't need to be put on display for football and for what the Patriots are all about. This is something that's going to be funny going forward now with Roger Goodell making a decision with Bob Kraft to suspend another one of his players. So I think for the NFL, the best thing for them to do is suspend him for 2 to 4 games.
Well, I want to applaud Bill Belichick, because Bill Belichick immediately after the game went looking for Sean McDermott, the coach, and apologized for Gronk's hit and called it what it was, BS. I totally agree with Donovan McNabb. This should be, as far as I'm concerned, a minimum of 2 games, possibly 3 or 4 games. He deserves to be suspended for multiple games for a hit like that. Let's take into account the fact that the defender is laying down, face down. Okay, he's on the ground, and when he's on the ground, Gronkowski comes up behind him with the full weight of his body and pulls and puts his elbow in the back of Tre'Davious White's neck. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. You can't have that kind of nonsense taking place anywhere, even if it is on a football field. There was no cause for it whatsoever. I respect the fact that Gronk apologized because he recognized the error of his ways, but it was one of those moments where it was, you talk about a lot of stuff is overblown about Gronkowski. As far as I'm concerned, people nitpick about him a lot. But in this particular instance, any vitriol aimed in his direction is well deserved. That's the epitome of a cheap shot. There was no cause for it. He concussed White as well. He should pay, and pay severely for that. I would say a minimum of 3 games.
Well, that's the worst thing I've seen all year. It's the worst foul I've seen all year, because the play was over. It was a defenseless player, and Gronk comes up and hits him hard. How many steps does he take before he hits him hard in the back of the head? In boxing, you can't hit anyone in the back of the head. It's called a rabbit punch. You know why? Because it's extremely dangerous. Brainstem injury is extremely dangerous. It's the worst thing I've seen all year. Obviously a suspension. Minimum 1 game, and you got to figure out based on precedent how much more than that. But that's the worst thing I've seen all year. And here, even Gronk's reputation, which I actually think is a good one, Stephen A., Gronkowski, for whatever reason, is seen as this big, fun-loving guy who's able to get away with things that some other players wouldn't. Like, for example, could you imagine if Martellus Bennett hit someone like that? The outcry, whatever the suspension is, the outcry that would occur after that, it was Gronk, everyone likes him, good dude and everything, fine. Good that he apologized. It's the worst hit I've seen all year.